To perform an intake on a client into YouthCenter, you can do so either from your dashboard from the Search Clients widget or by going over to the Case Manager and selecting New Client. The first step of doing an intake is adding the client. You'll see that we've got a few required fields here. The first field is first name. So we'll give our client a name and their last name. And we need to give them our date of birth. And our system can auto-generate a client number, and then we can select their client status. This client is going to be going into detention, so we'll select Open Detention. You'll notice the next is not just add a next, it's search in next, because the system is going to look for similar clients into the system. That way we're not duplicating any clients already into the system, and if Clark was already in the facility, we would already see his listing of his information here, and we could select that. In this case, Clark was not in the system, so we're going to go ahead and create new client and next. The next step is to edit the client information. You'll see that our client number has been auto-generated. If you have a client numbering system, you can go through and modify that client number as you see fit. Here you can also enter in their middle name, so we'll just enter a middle initial. If there's any specific notes on the client, if we know their next court date and time, we can enter that in as well. We can use the calendar selector. We'll select July 1st, and we can select 10 o'clock a.m. Next, if we know their internet presences, so email address, Facebook, Twitter, any of these others that are in here, and we also have the ability to add in an alias. So, for instance, if Clark doesn't go by Clark, he actually goes by his middle name, that's Larry, we can go ahead and add in Larry. This allows the system to be able to search on aliases as well. Down below, we can also add tags to the client. In this case, we know that he has a peanut allergy, so we can select that. And we can also apply his ACE score. These tags are customizable by administrators of your system. We'll go ahead and click Save and Next. Go on to the next step of intake, which allows us to add in demographics. Wherever you see a drop-down, these drop-downs are customizable by administrators of your system. So we'll go ahead and select male, and our client is 4 foot 11 inches, and he is 116 pounds. 116 pounds. He is Caucasian or white. He is not Hispanic, Latino. He is a slender build. He doesn't have any facial hair. His hair color is brown. His eye color is blue. Skin complexion is light, and dominant hand is right. We know that he doesn't wear glasses, he doesn't have any identifying marks, and we can record his primary language and if he needs an interpreter or if he can read and write. Some organizations collect additional identification information. We won't enter that for our client here. We've already entered in our date of birth. If we want, we can enter in city of birth, state of birth, and record if we have the birth certificate on file. If the youth is a gang member, you can select the gang member checkbox, and you can select from the predetermined administrator-controlled gang classifications. There's some additional information that you can put in here. We're not going to enter that in for our client, but we're going to go ahead and click Save and Next. Next up, we have their residency. Here we can go ahead and enter in what their home address is. So we'll go ahead and put in an address and a zip code. If you have a government unit, you can enter that in and you can put notes. So this is the mother's home. And if you'd like, you can add in a telephone number here as well. And you can select a listing of the type if it's home or if it's mobile. Down below, probation officers will sometimes take photos and add photos of the location to help other JPOs find the location. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and click Save and Next. Next, we're going to go ahead and hit Edit Education. We know that he is currently enrolled in middle school and that he's in 8th grade, so we can record that, and he is attending. We can mark if they're special ed and if this is their primary education. The system can track multiple educations, but in this case, he's only going to Metropolis Middle School here. If we know their truancy, if we know their GPA, we can enter that in here, and we can also add in notes about their education as well. We'll go ahead and click Save and Next, which is going to bring us to our relationships. Now, we can enter in one relationship from here, but afterwards we can enter in multiple relationships, and there are no limits to the number of relationships you can enter into the system. You can select their type. If you know their date of birth and you know their email address, you can enter that information. For detention, you can mark if they're approved or denied or approved with supervision. You can add in any specific notes, and you can mark if they're guardian and if you need to send notice. Down below, if you know their address, you can enter their address. Otherwise, you can click the Use Client Address and it will fill the information from the form that we filled out before. If you know their telephone number, you can add their telephone number in here as well, along with additional demographical information that you can provide on the client. If you have a photo of the visitor or the relationship, you can add that into the system. This is a feature that's been requested by Detention Center, so you know who you're going to be visiting or you know who's going to be visiting. I'll go ahead and click Save and Next, and we'll enter that in at another time. Once you've entered in the client, we've completed the general intake for the client themselves. You can see that we've got their summary, their general information about them. The next step for a client intake is we're going to go over to the general profile, and we're going to scroll down and we're going to add in a mugshot. Mugshots are just photos of the client. They can be used for identifying marks. Primarily, we just use them for their profile picture in the system here. So we're going to select our picture type as front. This will be the default, but since there's only one photo, and I can click to choose a file here, and we'll select a file, and we'll go ahead and save that. And now his profile picture has been added to the system. Next, if we're going to be placing the client into detention, under the client menu on the side here, we open up detention and we open up facility placements. Here we can see a history of his facility placements, which he has none, and we can go ahead and start a new intake. It'll default the intake date today and this time. If we need to modify that for historical purposes, we can. If we know the length that the client is going to be in, we can add in the number of days, and it will add in an estimated release date. Otherwise, you can enter in a release date and it will calculate out the duration for you. If we know the reason for intake, if it's a court order, we can select that. If we know who they were delivered by, we can select their title. They are a probation officer, and we can actually have them sign for it using this system. Our intake staff is our demo user. Our intake supervisor will select Caleb, and they were authorized by Caleb as well. If you have received a police report, if they need a prelim, and if you need to mark if contact was made, you can do that right here. You can also put in specific intake notes on the client as well if you need to. Next, we can select a facility room that they're going to be in. In our facility, we only have one unit, that's Unit A, and you can see the only option that we have are open rooms. So we can put him in A100. It will automatically put him into the facility placement program that's associated with that facility room and a service plan that's associated with it. If we need to change that, we can change our service plan down below. Next up, if our facility uses privilege levels, we can select the privilege level that they're going to be in. We can record the charges that they've been detained on here as well. And if you have done a Macy, you can actually record their Macy scores in here as well. And go ahead and save. After the facility placement intake is complete, it will show you a summary of the intake details, and we can click on summary to see that he's been added into the system, and he's got an intake date of today. He's accumulated 1 day, and his estimated release date is 9/21/2020. This was a brief overview of the intake process for both juvenile probation and detention in YouthCenter. If you'd like to learn more, visit us at youthcenter.net.